Yeah. All right. So today is Talk Sunday. Yes. And it is May the 23rd, 2021. For those that are new to this platform, I am Tiffany. I am a licensed clinical social worker by trade and a community activist at heart. And this platform, Tiff Talks, is a safe haven to discuss taboo topics that are impacting our community. So we discuss all things empowerment, all things that are elevating and leveraging our community in order to build growth and wealth and blossom. So, for those of you that are new, welcome. And for those of you that are returning, hey, y'all. So today is going to be a really candid discussion. If you guys have been with us, rocking with us throughout this second quarter, you know that we've been presenting our blooming season, and we have discussed everything from manifestation to credit worthiness to financial literacy. And in this last kind of few episodes that are going to be broadcast in this blooming season, we're talking about the good kind of feel good stuff. So this feel good stuff is starting today. And we are going to be talking about faith versus facts. This has been a long time coming for this particular talk time. We actually started kind of brainstorming this about a year ago and really just didn't know how to present it. So so that we have the opportunity to get started, I have already introduced myself. I am going to allow my co-host to introduce herself, and we will dive right into content.
Hi, everybody. It's Kinshay, talk partner. Today is everything for me because we speak heavy on faith. I'm all about it.
Mhm.
So faith versus facts. Just a little background on that. I do work for a church, but I'm not trying to take y'all to church. But that is where my definition of faith will come from. So let's get started.
All right, all right. So as I mentioned, this is a talk topic that we began discussing about a year ago, in the midst of the pandemic, and really just trying to present and discuss faith from our perspective, and also determining if faith wavers on facts, and being able to present that in a manner, because we're not a faith-based platform, but a lot of what we talk about empowering, especially during our self-help and self-worth and love story talk times, we talk a lot about faith, and it's definitely weaved into those topics. So I wanted to do a broadcast specifically on faith, but presented in a manner, as Kinshay says, where we're not trying to take you, to church, but really just speak from a factual standpoint. So for me, I too kind of grew up in the church, very traditional church, and that is where my faith and my background in faith has come from. But over time, as I've grown, as I've evolved as a wife, as a mother, as a woman, my faith has evolved as well. And those are the things that we're going to tackle today. I feel when you think of our generation, or really trying to just thinking about past generations, our elders, they lived by faith because that's all they truly had to stand on. And, living in a time where there was struggle after struggle, and living in the struggle, you had no standpoint but to stand on faith, on what you hoped for and what you truly wanted to see and wanted to receive out of life. Versus here in our day and time, our generation, we perceive faith as something, one, that has been passed down from generation to generation, but also something that has been reincarnated for something that we perceive it to be. So I think the best way to really kind of open up this discussion is to tackle what is the perception, or what is the impression of faith as it relates to our generation.
Mm. So I'll take that. Um, for our generation, I think we kind of like lost it, and I'm just speaking for the generation as a whole.
Mhm.
A lot of us don't believe that you have to actually believe it before you actually achieve it. So for me, that's my faith. Like I have to speak it into existence as it is so.
Right.
So for me, I think that our generation needs to be aware that things just don't happen
Right.
according to how we want it to happen. But if we shall speak it,
Mhm.
that it is so, that it will be so. So for our generation, that's what I think that we are.
I think really when I think about from my standpoint, when I think about the impression of faith, I oftentimes cannot like negate the matter of facts. Like, is I believe in walking by faith, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
I also believe by living by facts, living a life of facts, because we live in that day and time.
We
I
do.
am all things black and white with a whole bunch of scales of gray in between. But
Right.
but in that I have and I hold on to my faith. And I feel that we have lived for so long in this day and time where it's like you gotta, it's so easily said you gotta see it to achieve it. But what does that truly mean to one person? I think so
Mm.
often you can get caught up in thinking, oh, well, things are just going to fall out the sky and the universe is just going to give me this and the universe is just going to give me that. But in the same token, whether you have your faith that you believe in God or even, you believe in this universe and thereof, there also has to be some fact that goes into it. It's
Right.
no way that you can truly accomplish a goal if there's not any work behind it. Even the Bible says faith
Faith
without
without
works is
works is
dead.
dead.
So
Yes.
how is it that one will truly take on this impression that faith comes without facts?
Right. And I don't think necessarily that, well, I know faith doesn't come without the facts behind it.
Hmm.
Because like you say, our generation, the generation, before us, or even before them,
Hmm.
everything was based on faith and faith alone. They
Right.
didn't have anything to look forward to. But seeing that they've laid out the blueprint and they have laid out those facts
Hmm.
that we seem to have the faith in, and faith is just complete trust in something or someone. Um, and that's just me.
I will say that when it comes down to the impact that faith has had, especially in this last year, being in a time where we've seen so much and have had to endure so much, I will say that I've seen our generation rely more heavily on faith or rely more heavily on the impact thereof faith, of believing in something that something has to give, and
Mm.
that because we have what's been passed down to us, we truly believe that things are going to get better. Take the whole kind of ongoing riots.
Mm.
It's no way that you can continue to maintain the motivation time after time, um, instance after instance, that things are going to change if you don't have something, some goodwill, some good energy, some good faith that you're holding on to.
Correct.
And being in that instance of people having been arrested, people having been harmed in the midst of those things, and still go out and do it the next day or still go out and do it the next instance, you had to have had some sort of faith to know that those things were going to be impactful.
Right. And that's where the facts come in, because we've seen time and time again, yes, not every instance is resolved,
Mhm.
or not every instance is giving us the motivation to go out, but we know the fact of it is something changed with this situation. So if I continue to have the faith to keep on doing the protesting, to keep on doing that, change will come.
Right.
But again, I saw the fact, so now I have the faith that my
Mm.
outcome will get there.
I like that.
So again, that's why I say, a lot of it is the facts and faith. Because a lot of people, when I was reading about it, because I was doing some research on it, and I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I did it last night, and I was like, what? And then it was like, that faith and fact, they are incompatible.
Mm.
Sorry, y'all, that it's incompatible. So I'm like, well, why would you say it's incompatible? Because if I've seen it to be true,
Mhm.
then I'm trying to get there. So my faith is that one day I'm gonna get there. And
Mm.
that's with goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
That's with raising your family. You've seen
Mm.
generations turn nothing into something.
Right,
So the
right.
faith comes because I've seen the facts.
Mm.
Um, but not every instance is the same because you have to have faith. That's just bottom line.
Right, right. And you know, when we talk about understanding and knowing that faith is backed by facts, I have to kind of rely on some type of construct, in that there has to be a mental construct that goes into faith.
Mm,
Like, it's not just about believing these things, it's about a daily practice. It's about, you know, having some sort of
repetition.
repetition,
Yeah.
a rigorous repetition, to believe that, like you said, my faith is backed by facts. And if I can't stand on my faith at this point, at least I can stand on the fact of knowing that my faith comes from or is as a result of
Oh,
facts.
that's good.
What do you feel from your kind of standpoint, mental constructs that goes into being able to practice and be faithful?
So the mental construct. Um, mm, hold on, let me see.
I stumped you, huh?
Huh?
I stumped you, huh?
Yeah. Okay, so the mental construct and what goes into being faithful, is that the question?
Right.
Um, I think it is, like you said, repetition. I think doing something over and over again, meaning have faith, and faith without works is dead. To think it is, to think it is so, so that it will be so.
Mm,
I just think us working toward mentally, you have to have that mentality that things change, people evolve, things change. Just repeating this on a daily cycle will help your mental become, you'll become more aware of the faith and facts aspect.
you know, one thing, and I never like profess to be this hyper religious type person, because I'm not. um and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, there's things from my upbringing in a traditional church that I hold on to and that I practice religiously, but I wouldn't say that I'm a hyper religious person. And I think that is because, um facts, when you talk about things happening, facts is people will let you down.
Yeah,
Things will happen. There will be times in your life that are not pretty, that are not, you know, things that you want to receive or want to understand or want to even be a part of. But even in those things, you have to get to a point where you understand that those things, whether presented by God or presented by the universe, they come as a result for a reason.
yeah.
And I remember having a conversation during my premarital counseling with Pastor Dre, and we talked a lot about like forgiveness.
Mm,
And he said, like, very clearly, like, in any relationship, in any intimate relationship, and intimate by someone that you have an intimate partner with. So,
okay.
for instance, not just my husband, but someone that I have an intimate connection with, a friend that I'm really close with, my children who I'm really close with. There will be time and time again where you have to practice forgiveness.
Yeah.
And being able to forgive someone is to truly allow them in the same position that they were before. So,
Mm,
for instance, if I know that my daughter has let me down, if I've forgiven her, I'm allowing her in the position to know that at some point she may let me down again, but to be able to truly forgive her, to have faith in knowing that that relationship will be restored, that trust will be restored. I have to have faith in that she will abide by, or at least given the opportunity to do better, if that makes sense.
right.
And
Vulnerability.
right, right. And it's so often when it comes down to having those mental constructs, excuse me, we're at a place of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And to truly practice faith, you have to be able to be vulnerable in that.
Right.
And understanding that that vulnerability is gonna hurt sometime.
Mm-hmm.
That vulnerability is going to require forgiveness, forgiveness of yourself, but also forgiveness of other people. And that's hard to see or say, but those are the facts that come along with faith.
Yeah, I agree.
So to really kind of transition to this whole construct of the mental of faith, I always kind of wonder, because I'm not, as hyper religious as other people, is in order to be faithful, do you really have to have this rigorous practice of religion, or have something to conform to?
Not really, because I'm not hyper religious as you would say. I'm not hyper religious, but my faith is the facts that I have is the Bible.
Mm,
So that's my black and white, and no gray in between. That's just black and white. So I can not necessarily conform to that,
mhm,
but when it comes to faith, you don't have to be this higher religious person, because faith ultimately is you believing and trusting in something or someone truly.
mhm.
So if you're gonna do that, you don't. I mean, you don't have to be religious, because it's not all aspects are religious
That's true.
that you're gonna have to take that faith into.
That's
But mine is based um in the Bible, or mine is religious based.
true.
Um, but I wouldn't consider hyper religious with it.
You know, I struggle with conformity, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm like in my own lane, driving my own car, change the car when I feel the need to, change the speed when I feel the need to, type of person. Like, that's my whole continuum of gray, and I'm okay with that. To know me is to love me. That's
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say. But in that, I say, like, the greatest for me, like the greatest story out the Bible, and the one that I hold like so dear, and the greatest comeback um is with, and I can't, this is crazy because I had it in my head, I didn't write it down though, but the greatest comeback is what I've seen is, I want to believe, Joshua with the brothers. Is
Uh
that
huh.
Joshua with the brothers? Okay. So, and it's crazy because I've read this so many times, and I know Heather, I'm sorry, Heather, I know she would be so mad at me, because I should know this, because I studied it for so long in a very kind of lean season in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about what he went through,
Okay.
um, being able to be scorned by his family, thrown
Hmm.
in the pit, going through the process of being enslaved, coming up out of slavery, being able to be the right hand man to the king, then, having to go back and just like all these things, one after another, and not having lost his faith during
Hmm.
that, like truly believing that at some point things are going to be better.
Yep.
At some point things are, going to work in my favor. Not saying that he didn't have times of vulnerability, not saying that he didn't have times where he was advocating for himself, because he was definitely advocating for himself in the prison. Like, dude, when you get up out of here, you need to tell the king,
Hmm.
I'm able to read these dreams, and I read this dream, and this is how I'm going to help him, and this and this.
Right.
So being able to see like his comeback on the other side, and his brothers come to him feeling this certain type of way because they know what they have done. For me, that is the greatest love story of one, being able to have the ultimate comeback, but also being able to have true faith, because his faith was never contingent on the things that he went through.
Hmm.
And for me, I would say in this last like 3 years, my faith has really grown to the point where my faith is no longer contingent on the season that I am in life.
Okay.
Like, I've understood, and I have an understanding that every season is not going to be a winning season.
Hmm.
Like, I'm going to have some lean seasons. And in order to get to where I want to be in life, in order to get to a place where I am at my best, where I have the greatness that I believe that I have to go through some things.
Yeah.
And I think going through things is what, for me, has taught me how to have a greater value for faith. but understanding and building those facts that I can stand on.
Mhm.
In this day and time, because we've seen so much and gone through so much and withstood so much, it's hard for people to truly stand on faith. It's hard for our generation to stand on faith. So my question to kind of spear up and wrap up this discussion today is, during this time where we go through those things, when we're in our lean season, where we have to understand the contingency thereof, how do you preserve your faith truly?
Mine is to stay in my word. That's how I preserve mine. And I'll just give you, when you talked about Joshua and what he went through, it kind of brought my story that I would call a faith story, and that's Job. Job
Mm,
was hit so many times, he
right.
lost so much. And here in my season now, what has preserved my faith
Mhm,
is knowing that for me that there's heaven. And
mhm,
I'm gonna speak on that because within this year I've lost my mom.
mhm.
Within 5 months, then I lost my aunt.
Yeah,
um it was tough,
yeah,
but it's hard. But to have faith that, you know, one, we all must go.
right.
Two, there is a heaven, so they're not in limbo. There is no stagnant stage. No more suffering. I mean, the reward thereafter.
Right.
Just reading about that and knowing that has really strengthened my faith.
Mm,
Because when it happened, I was, yo, let me call you Jesus. Let me see why you keep
right.
putting me on this line.
Yeah.
Um, but it wasn't for me to question him and his motives. So my faith was preserved in knowing that there is a God.
Mm,
Um, that the facts that he left, that was left behind, was the Bible.
mm,
Not necessarily left behind because
right.
um, it still weighs heavy,
Mhm,
in our everyday life.
mm,
So for me, that's where my faith. That's how I preserve my faith.
mm. That's good. That's really good. I would have to mirror that and saying that it is, there are, excuse me, certain scriptures that I hold on to.
Yeah.
There are those that are very near and dear to my heart that of course I can quote, of course I can rely on. But I think it's also for me time with God.
Mm,
Um I feel that my faith has strengthened because I've been able to have time with God. I've been able to be in communion with God.
yeah.
And it's not always like on my knees in prayer. Sometimes it's on my way to work, trying to gather myself to get to work. Um, Sometimes it's just in the midst of my day, like, okay, Jesus, So I think for me, on top of the scripture, it's the time, it's the intimacy that I've had with God.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember some time ago, and I can't remember exactly who said it or what minister said it, but I remember a scripture or a sermon that was more so geared toward saying that it's okay to question God. Like God wants you to try him so that he can show himself worthy. So in times when I've had to say, okay, God, like, what is this? Where I've had to have those difficult conversations, it was the opportunity for him to show me and to prove to me that I didn't need anyone else or anything else but
Yeah.
him. And that for me has preserved my faith. That for me has gotten me through lean seasons. That for me is what I rely on, and knowing that even today, tomorrow will be better.
Yeah.
So that's how I preserve my faith.
So it seemed like our faith is preserved.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Yes, it's preserved. So to wrap up this talk time, we always share our testament. So, if you would please share your testament from this particular Tiff Talk segment. What out of all that we've shared today, you want to be sure that our audience take away and continue to talk about moving forward.
Um, I would say from today's talk time, just in this little aspect, because we actually talked about more before while, planning this. But for today, I would think it is, our faith is preserved in something.
Mm,
Um, Knowing that, I mean, there are seasons in life,
mm,
and our faith is backed up with facts,
mm,
or those facts you have to have faith to get to.
mm,
But just continue to be faithful, one, to God, and then to yourself.
mm,
And then that will take you further in life.
mm. That's good. I would like to leave as my testament to encourage everyone to walk by faith but live by facts.
Mm,
And when
that's a
we
shirt.
when I when I started to draft this outline, I kind of went back and forth on faith versus facts. But as I got deeper into completing the outline and deeper into this discussion, it's a better understanding to me that it's not faith versus facts, but it's faith and facts.
I
And
agree.
that my faith is backed by facts. My faith is backed by the things that I've been through, the things that I've overcome, the things that will carry me to my next season, the things that will put me in a position to continue to bloom. So, whether hyper religious or not, whether you believe in God or the universe or thereof, walk by faith and live by facts.
Hmm,
All
that's
right,
it.
bro. That was good.
That was real good.
That was good. So a couple of announcements. And I know this is a kind of short segment, but that is because we've been working on so much on the back end of Tiff Talks that we are so excited to present to you guys that will be coming soon that we can't exactly talk about yet, but that we will be talking about soon. So, a couple of announcements. On Tuesday, we will have our Talk Tuesday where we will recap this episode, and it gives our IG family the opportunity to connect with us live and really just kind of dive into some Q&A, and just kind of some real candid conversation. So be on the lookout for that if you have not already been tuning in. It is an awesome 7 minutes, but
Hmm.
it's definitely jam packed with good information. Our next talk episode is going to be on June the 6th. And that is going to be with talk partner Kenneth Parker. And that is where we will be talking about emotional intelligence. I'm sure that that is going to be a very eventful talk time. If you have never had a conversation with Ken about intelligence and how that relates to one's emotions, you definitely want to tune in. He has awesome insight about it. He is probably one of the most emotional intelligent persons that I know.
Hmm.
So that is going to be a good talk time to make sure that you tune in on. We're also in the midst of presenting our responds to Tiff Talks Women Empower with Tiff Talks Men Empower that is going to be coming out June next month, right before Father's Day. So make sure that you remain on the radar for that. We have secured all of our minority entrepreneurs that are strong Black men that are doing their part in the community, empowering the community. And I'm so excited to be able to present that to you guys. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. And then finally, during the month of July, we will be back with our Minority Mental Health Awareness
Hmm.
Symposium. And the fun fact, or the good part, since we're talking about facts, is that this year will be both in person and hybrid. So there will be limited seating for those that want to attend in person, but it will also be streamed to our platforms so that people can engage. And if you did not attend last year, you missed out on a treat. But it's definitely still on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page so that you can watch the replay. And as we get closer to the symposium, we'll be playing some past moments that, really were will really put a pull at your heart, to your heartstrings, excuse me. So as we prepare for those very big things, I appreciate you guys tuning in this afternoon, for sharing this quality time with me. I truly believe that time is the most precious gift that you can give anyone, and I appreciate you guys for giving us that this afternoon. Kinshay, I appreciate you for engaging in this conversation and for just always, being you, girl.
Thank you, girl, for the opportunity.
Of course, of course. And that will end today's talk time for today. You guys, in the meantime, make sure you like, share, and follow and repost us in this feed. And also make sure that in the meantime, as you go about your week, you continue to keep talking faith and facts.
Yes.
Have a good afternoon.